Today, we release our 5th annual report. Marks the end of 4 years of work for the independent investigative mechanism for Myanmar. Unfortunately, what the report shows is that the violence in Myanmar and the suffering of the people of Myanmar has only gotten worse. The report makes note of increase, in particular, that the mechanism has been watching and observing and collecting evidence of an increase in war crimes and crimes against humanity coming from aerial bombings of villages where civilians are present. Also, the execution of civilians and detained combatants when villages are taken, when people are captured and then executed, and also the intentional burning of homes and villages. All of these can amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity. The mechanism is making its best efforts to collect evidence of that. We've made a lot of progress. As the report notes, we have engaged with over 700 different sources of information, that being organizations or individuals who may have witnessed the events, or organizations that have information about the events. We're collecting a very broad category, different categories of evidence, everything from aerial photographs to witness testimonies to social media evidence. Millions of items of evidence have been collected by the mechanism to date, over 20 million items. And the important thing is that despite the frustration that the crimes are only continuing, it's important for people to know that we are engaged in this work, because the crimes are happening. As horrible as they are, we don't know what more could have happened if people are not aware, particularly potential perpetrators are not aware, that there is an entity shedding light on these crimes, collecting the evidence. International justice can take a long time, but international justice has achieved many successes. We're collecting this evidence so it can be available. And we're already sharing the evidence with 3 ongoing proceedings that concern the crimes against the Rohingya population. So thank you very much. We're happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kundian. Are there any questions in the room? Just looking at the chat. Okay, a request from EFE, the Spanish news agency, to share the report with them, please. That's Antonio Broto. Otherwise, maybe it's, I see Nina Larsen. Nina, can you hear us? Please introduce yourself.
Hi, Nina Larsen with AFP. I was wondering, you say in your report that you're looking especially for linkage evidence to link these crimes, I guess, to the higher ups who are actually perhaps ordering them, or the ultimate hold the ultimate responsibility. How much such evidence do you have, and how confident do you feel that you have the evidence that would be needed actually against high-level officials if this were to come to prosecution? Thanks.
Well, the evidence against higher officials, the linkage is always the challenge in international cases. I've been working on these types of cases for 20 years. We've collected a great deal in terms of quantity of evidence. Exactly how the case plays out will depend on what charges are brought, what the jurisdiction is, what are the rules of evidence and the rules of the elements of crimes in that particular jurisdiction. So what I would say is that we have collected a lot of evidence. The evidence is at this point, which is still quite early in the process of an investigation of international crimes, the evidence in some ways is stronger against the very highest levels, because it's harder for the very highest levels not to evade responsibility for the fact that actions can only occur with their consent and with their orders. So we continue to collect the evidence of it. I believe it would be very useful one day with the jurisdictions that are interested in prosecuting these cases.
Thank you very much indeed. I think that answers AFP's question, Nina Larsen. I see another hand up. Lisa Schlein. Lisa, can you hear us? Lisa, go ahead if you can. Or type your question in the text box. No. You are unmuted, Lisa. Nina has a follow-up in the meantime.
Yes, hi, thank you. I was wondering also if you could just say a little bit about you talk a lot about investigating the sexual violence and crimes. And I understand that that was a very big issue with the Rohingya investigation, but if you could say a little bit more about how you're going about investigating that when it comes to the crimes post-coup and sort of what you're seeing there. Thank you.
Well, a real challenge with the post-coup crimes is access to witnesses, access to the areas where the crimes occurred, but particularly access to witnesses, because the mechanism has not received any cooperation from Myanmar. We cannot travel inside the country. But we have spoken to individuals who've provided evidence of sexual violence. And we particularly have seen evidence of sexual violence in detention. Both women and men have been the victims of this sexual violence. And it's something that we in the mechanism will concentrate on, because we know from all the other conflicts where international justice has investigated and prosecuted those cases, that these crimes are underreported for obvious reasons. People are reluctant to come forward and talk about what they suffered. But just as in the Rohingya situation, which you mentioned, where we saw horrific sexual violence occurring in that campaign, we're looking at the evidence of that. We're collecting the evidence from those witnesses, very brave witnesses that want to come forward and tell their story, tell what happened, the truth about what occurred to them or that they witnessed occur to other people. But we're also looking at whether state institutions and individuals have fulfilled their obligations as commanders or state officials to investigate allegations of sexual violence, because under international criminal law, the failure to investigate itself can be a crime. And I think one of the products that we're producing, analytical products that we have produced and we expect to share with partners, is a report on whether or not the Myanmar authorities properly investigated and sought to punish sexual violence committed against the Rohingya community. And we'll continue to look at that issue in the post-coup violence also.
Thanks very much again, Mr. Kumjian. Lisa, are you still with us? I can see your hand is up. I don't think we're going to be able to talk to Lisa today. Lisa, if you could maybe write your question, we'll try our best to deliver it for you. Thank you.